Hi there, it's Dr. Petrovich from the Carroll College Master of Social Work program, also known to some of you or all of you as James. Um, as we're approaching the beginning of the fall 2025 semester and the start of the 25-26 academic year, I think it's important we start digging into the weeds a little bit on what it is to be a Carroll MSW student. Specifically, what I want to talk about today is the schedule that we use for synchronous course sessions. Okay. Um, so this video complements two other videos that I've made, and I really encourage you to watch those. So those videos are about our learning management system, also known as Moodle, self-service, which is a system where students can look at their schedules and grades and things like that, and also look at stuff. I think also there's maybe some business office functions there as well. So, when you're entering the ecology of Carroll College, there are different systems in place that you're going to want to get to know. And some of our IT related systems are super important because we're an online program. And so, there is never a reason to ever come to Carroll College's campus unless you want to, and we would welcome you if you did so. But since there's no reason for you to, and just because we're an online program, we really try and make it as easy as possible for you to do all the basic student related stuff remotely. Okay, so by phone or by Zoom or by just through the internet, we really try and make things accessible. And so watching those other videos will help you kind of understand some of the systems you'll be working with so you can then, just navigate the college a little bit easier. But today, again, like I said, what we want to talk about is the schedule that we've created for synchronous class sessions. Okay. Um, Synchronous class sessions those are the times in a class, and almost every class in our program includes synchronous class sessions. So that's literally where you're logging on to Zoom at a certain time. Your instructor is logging on to Zoom, other colleagues are logging on to Zoom, and we're all there together. So for an online program, this is our best effort to simulate like a live class experience because that's exactly what it is. Now we're all coming in remotely. It's a virtual experience, but we are all there together. Okay. And so for any class, whether it's 8 weeks or 16 weeks, about half of the weeks of that class, about half the weeks, as long as it is, if it's 8 weeks, then we do about 4 sessions. If it's 16 weeks, we'll do about 8 sessions synchronously. Okay. Um, and we do those in a very specific way. It's important because you're in multiple classes at a given time. So we want to make sure you know where to be at a certain time and where you don't need to be at a certain time. And that's why we create these schedules. Um, and so I would really encourage you to watch this video. And if you need to watch it a couple times, watch it again. It shouldn't be that complicated. But it's amazing. Every year, folks get confused and they show up in the wrong class at the wrong time, or they don't show up at all because they didn't know they had a class session. Well, that's what these schedules are meant to do, is really help you know where to be and when to be there. And so, and I like to take the time to go through this because I just want to do just kind of a little bit of an exercise with you right now. So, paying attention to this stuff early will yield benefits later when classes start. And now you're dealing with content. Now you're working on assignments. Now you're doing the thinking work that we want you to do in the classes. If you haven't spent any time looking at the synchronous schedule or getting into Moodle and practicing and playing around with that, you're now going to be juggling two things, whereas you maybe could have been juggling more so the content, less so Moodle, less so schedules. So please take the time now to get familiar with the schedule, to kind of know what's going on, where you need to be and when you need to be there, and it'll reduce some of the stress that you'll be experiencing when the program actually kicks off. Okay. And in one way, I can illustrate this example is using my handy dandy coffee mug. And we use this at different times in the program because kind of represents our capacity for stress. Okay. And the liquid that's in it is stress. It's the stress we're experiencing at any given time. So each of us has a different size mug. For some of us, we can manage a lot of stress for whatever reason. Some of us, maybe we don't tolerate stress, that another person tolerate. You know, maybe our stress levels are we're just different. You know, it's not better, it's not worse, it's not good, not bad, it's just different. So here's my capacity for stress. So right now, literally, my coffee is up to here. So if I try to add a lot more stress, i.e. coffee, it's going to overflow. So what we want to do is we want you to start this semester with as little stress in your cup as possible because we know more stress is coming. And so then as classes start and internships start and your stress goes up, we want to make sure you still have a buffer in your capacity, that you're not maxed out, that you're not overflowing. Okay. And the way you do that is by being intentional about preparing for the upcoming semester, for planning properly, for thinking proactively, for practicing good self-care. All that stuff goes into making sure that your capacity for stress, as much as possible, stays low. Now, what happens when the stress flows over, which it very possibly might? That's where you reach out to your faculty member. That's where you reach out to your advisor to let them know what's going on, and we get into doing some problem solving. Knowing when you're stressed and taking steps to address it is a part of being a good social worker. Because if we're showing up and we're overflowing, how good are we going to be with the person who's also overflowing? Now we got two overflowing people together. So fundamentally, for your own mental health and your family's health and everybody's well-being, we really want to be attentive to how we're practicing good self-care, but also for our clients who are inevitably going to be probably showing up with a lot of stress. You don't want to meet stress with stress. You want to be able to sit with and hear and listen to and respond to the client from a place of more calm and more peace than they're at. So anyway, let's pull up these schedules. Let's take a look. Now, what we're going to do, and before I pull it up, I want to cover one other thing. I'm going to talk about both schedules in this video. I'm going to talk about the generalist and the specialized schedule. You need to know what kind of student you are. Are you a generalist student or are you a specialized student? It's easy. If you are in the first year of the 2-year traditional program, you're doing the 60 credit traditional program because you don't have a bachelor's in social work. If you're in the first 30 credits of that 60 credit program, you are a generalist student because you are completing the generalist curriculum. If you're in the second half of the traditional program, so you've been with us for a year, now you're back for your second year, you are a specialized student because you are completing the specialized curriculum. If you're an advanced standing student, so you're just joining us for this year, but you've got a BSW, so you've already done the generalist curriculum, you're a specialized student, okay? So you need to know that because the schedules I'm about to show you are developed differently based on whether you're a generalist or specialized student. So here we go. Let's start with the generalist schedule. Okay. So I've sent these documents out before, but it was from last year. So those do not accurately represent the schedule for this year. Okay. These are the actual schedules for this year. They were attached to the email where I told you about this video and I gave you the YouTube channel link, all that. So if you're a generalist student, you are enrolled in 5 classes this semester, okay? However, only 4 of those are actual classes to where you show up at a specific time synchronously, or you have other work, because practicum, the one I've highlighted, that's your internship, but you have to register for your internship. But by you showing up at your internship, you're meeting the requirements for that class. I mean, of course, there's more, but you're meeting the most basic. These other 4 classes, these are what you might consider more of a traditional class, okay? Now, what we have, these top 3 are what we call didactic classes because these are content-driven classes. These are about covering different topics, different theories, different principles, different concepts. You can see from the titles what some of these are going to be stressing, okay? You'll also notice these are 8-week classes. This other, the 4th class that folks will actually be taking is field seminar, and that complements the internship. And that's where you're talking about the internship. And that's where you're taking the content you're learning in these other 3 classes, the 8-week classes, and you're integrating it with what you're doing in your practicum, connecting theory with practice. Kind of looking at like the semester itself, here we go. It's a 16-week semester, so you can see that. You can see where these field-related courses are 16 weeks. So practicum is 16 weeks long, so seminar is 16 weeks long. Then we have these 3 didactic classes. We have 2 of them that actually start at the beginning in the first 8 weeks. And then we have 1 that is the second 8 weeks. Okay, so actually the number of classes decreases through the semester, and actually the workload does as well. Okay. Now, like here we talk about, as you know, one of the things that makes our program a little bit different than others is we very intentionally include a good bit of synchronous learning. Okay. Now, again, synchronous learning and synchronous instructional methods, we're on Zoom together. Okay, live. So what you and I are doing right now, this very moment, as you watch this video, this is not synchronous because we're not live together. You're watching me on Zoom, but you are more learning in an asynchronous way, because you could be watching this at 8 in the morning or 8 at night or 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, whatever you're doing. Okay. And a good bit of our content is delivered that way. But we do, again, include for any given class, if it's 8 weeks, we meet about 4 times. If it's 16 weeks, we meet about 6 times or 8 times on Zoom. Okay, so here, this is pretty simple for generalist students. And one reason why it is we only need to offer 1 section of each course. The courses I just talked about, we only need to offer 1 of each of those, 1 section, so to speak. So at the beginning of the semester, students are taking 2 different courses. We see those right here. If you look over here, you see the different weeks of that 8-week session. And then over here in the green, it means it's synchronous. And if it's yellow, it means it's asynchronous. And then so all you need to do is you just kind of focus in, figure out the week that you're interested in knowing about, and then you'll see, where do I need to be and how do I need to be there? Okay, so let's do this. So the semester is going to start off with an intensive, okay? 8:15 to 8:17, so that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The schedule is Friday 1 to 5, Saturday is 8 to 5, Sunday is 8 to noon, okay? You can attend intensives synchronously or in person. Remember, intensives and commencement, hooding, those are the only times that there's an option to come to campus. And it's an option. It's not required, okay? Now, after the intensive is over, on Monday the 18th, there's no synchronous session for either class because technically classes don't start until the 20th. So what you will do though is you'll be doing some asynchronous work. You'll be logging into Moodle. There may be a recorded lecture you want to watch. There may be something going on there, okay? Now the week after that, it gets a little weird. So the week after that, oh, not that week, it's Labor Day, okay? And so when we're building the schedule, we're looking at things like, well, we didn't do an asynchronous or a synchronous class the week of 8/18 because classes technically didn't start till the 20th. Well, now the following week, we're not going to do any synchronous classes on Monday because it's Labor Day. Well, there's 2 weeks with no synchronous sessions. For us, that's a little bit too long. So what we do, because it's the beginning of the program, you're just getting started, we go ahead and we move any synchronous stuff we would have done on Monday gets moved to Tuesday. Okay, so you can see that here. So now we start to get into the flow of the schedule. So on the week of Monday 9/1, you don't meet Monday because it's Labor Day, but this class, HBSE with me, it's going to meet synchronously on Tuesday. Okay. The other class, Diversity and Social Justice with Professor Butts, it doesn't meet on Tuesday. It certainly doesn't meet on Monday because it's Labor Day, but it definitely doesn't meet on Tuesday because we're meeting on Tuesday. And so because you can't be in two places at the same time, the classes flip-flop synchronously. Okay. So getting all this Labor Day nonsense out of the way, and now we get into the normal flow of a semester. Okay, Monday 9/8, don't get on Zoom with me, get on Zoom with Professor Butts. The next week, get on Zoom with me, don't get on Zoom with Professor Butts. And it just kind of flip-flops through the rest of the class. Now, except for the very last Zoom session, we actually, you're going to show up where you're supposed to, and we haven't decided which link we're going to use, but this is actually a session where Professor Butts and I will be together with you, okay? So for the whole 8 weeks, we've been kind of in our little bubbles covering our content. Well, what we want to do for the last session is we want to come together and let's talk about how do we integrate this content. So that's what we're going to do. And that's actually after the second intensive. So, which is only Friday and Saturday. Friday 1 to 5, Saturday 8 to 5. You can attend synchronously or in person. Okay, so now we go through a little bit more into the semester, and you can see, remember, when we looked at that diagram up top, you start with 2 8 weeks, but then you only go to one. Well, here you can see that represented here. Okay, for the second 8 weeks of the semester, you're only taking Generalist Practice 1 with Dr. Alice, and here you see, show up on Zoom on 10/13, don't show up on the 20th. Show up again on the 27th, don't show up on the 3rd, and just every other week. It's pretty simple. And actually, that's basically the approach that goes for the 16-week field seminar courses, okay? So the other courses we just talked about are 8 weeks. This is a 16-week course. It goes all the way through the semester. It starts at the very beginning where we have that first intensive, and it goes all the way into the start of the kind of the early December when the semester ends. And so all you got to do is like, if you're sitting there and it's Tuesday morning, it's October 16th. No, sorry, September 16th, and you're like, huh, it's Tuesday. Do I have to get online for seminar class? You're going to come look at this document and you're going to see this right here. And you're going to go, oh, yeah, I do. I do need to get online. So you're going to log on. Okay. Now, if you notice, we've got some back-to-back synchronous stuff here. Here we have a synchronous session before the second intensive and a synchronous session right after. It's just the way it works. Okay, so just go with the flow. And sometimes we will kind of put synchronous sessions side by side because there's important content and we want to cover it that way. So, okay, so this is generalist. So generalist, remember, you got 2 synchronous classes at the beginning, or 2 classes at the beginning, 1 at the end, 8 weeks on Monday, and then here's your Tuesday synchronous schedule. Okay. Now let's look at the specialized schedule. Now this is going to be a little more complicated because whereas we only teach 1 section of each generalist class, we actually teach 2 sections of each specialized class. And so, same stuff. Here's the list of classes. You'll actually notice that there's 4 of these 8-week didactic classes. And the reason why there's that is because some of these classes are 2 credits, whereas in the generalist curriculum, they're all 3. Okay, so that means when you look down here at this one, yes, we have it's a 16-week semester. You've got your practicum, you've got your seminar, just like the generalist. But now, because we have 4 didactic classes, you start with 2, those end, and then you finish the semester with another 2. Okay, so that's the way that goes. Now, so when we come down here, I don't want you to be alarmed. So let me get rid of that. Get rid of all that spaghetti. All right. So one key thing that you need to do to really make this schedule work for you is know which sections you're assigned to. Okay. So there's a section. So for each class, so here's clinical assessment diagnosis. Here's section A, synchronous classes are scheduled at a certain time. Here's section B, synchronous classes are scheduled at a certain time. Opposite to section A. So it's really important. And the best place to find your schedule is to go into self-service, that system that Carol uses for like grades and for your course schedule and all that. And whether you just hand write out a list of the classes, put the section that you're in next to the title. Okay. So just like for the assessment and diagnosis, for integrated and interprofessional practice, we have a section A and a section B. Okay. And section A and B, those synchronous dates are actually opposite each other. Okay. What you're going to find when you look at your schedule is you're going to find that you're going to be in section A of one of these classes, and then you'll be in section B of the other. So if you're in section A of clinical assessment, you should be in section B of integrated, because this way the synchronous classes alternate back and forth. If you look at your schedule and you see that you're in section A of clinical assessment and section A of integrated, that's no bueno, because those synchronous sections actually overlap. We would be expecting you to be in two different places at the same time. And I don't know about you, but I can't do that. So what you want to do, easiest way I would say to read this is grab your schedule, figure out what sections you're in. I would look at your clinical assessment section. If you're in A, you want to follow this section up here. If you're in section B, you want to follow this section down here. Okay, that's what I would do. Now, when we get further into the semester, here's where it gets a little bit wonky. So if we come down into the 8-week session course, so these were the 8-week 1 courses. These are the 8-week 2 course. So we have substance use and mindfulness. Okay. Now the way it goes, and this is all because the different numbers, the numbers of instructors that we have. So co-occurring and substance use, we actually, we have 2 sections of that. We have a section A and we have a section B. But because they're taught by different people, they can actually be the same time. So Professor Mook will have half of the students with her on Zoom. Dr. Twist will have the other half of the students with her. Same day, Monday. Okay. Now the other class you'll be taking, mindfulness, is taught by one instructor, Professor Butts. So what we have to do to make the synchronous sessions work for that is half of you will be meeting with Professor Butts on a Monday, opposite substance use and co-occurring, but the other half of you will be meeting on Tuesday. Okay. So if you're in section A of mindfulness, you're essentially going to be online every Monday in the second 8 weeks of the semester, because you're going to be, because Monday is when we've scheduled this substance use and co-occurring class. Now, if you're in section B of mindfulness, you're actually only going to be online every other Monday. Okay. Because your mindfulness class is now on Tuesday. And so where you're actually going to be kind of flip-flopping through the semester, instead of it being on Monday night like it is with this group, it's going to be on Tuesday night with the section B, because this overlaps with the synchronous classes for field seminar. So really it's this 8-week session. The second 8 weeks of the fall semester, this is where you really want to make sure you're on your P's and Q's as far as what section you're in. You know, if you're in section A, and it really depends on mindfulness. If you're in section A on mindfulness, And it doesn't matter whether you're an A or B of co-occurring because they're always going to be on Monday on these days. Okay. If you're in section A of mindfulness, then yeah, you'll be on Monday alternating. If you're in section B of mindfulness, you're going to be meeting on Tuesday. You'll still be meeting Monday for the substance use class, but you won't be meeting on the opposite Mondays for this. So you'll have every other Monday off. But what you will be doing is when you're meeting with, since you're in section B, you'll be meeting on Tuesday for mindfulness. Well, you'll be alternating that with the field class. Okay. Again, know what section you're in, find the section on the schedule, and just follow the greens and yellows, and you'll be in great shape. Let's see. Stop sharing. So that's really what I wanted to show you. These are out. Plan around them. Now, if something, please, communication is the magic pixie dust that fixes everything in this world. So if you're looking at that schedule and you see, oh my God, I've got something else scheduled on a night that I'm scheduled to be meeting synchronously for whatever class, reach out to the instructor. Okay. We understand that things come up. We understand that you have things planned. Do we want you to be in these synchronous classes? Absolutely, yes, we do. And if we notice that you're not there, we are going to follow up with you, okay? Because this is an important part of our program. These live conversations, the activities, this is where a lot of learning takes place. And while, yes, we will record and we'll make available the synchronous sessions to folks who can't be there, it's not the same. And as we see people starting to kind of treat our program like a purely asynchronous program with no synchronous, we're going to reach out to you. We're going to try and figure out what's going on because we want you to be there for these sessions. Like I said, things are going to come up. We get it completely. But, we're always going to kind of encourage participation and engagement. I mean, that's huge. So if you have any questions about this stuff, please reach out to me. You should have you got this video link you got a heads up about the video through an email, so we know you have that. So just reach out to me. And yeah, it's hard to believe summer is kind of almost over. Um, I can tell you we're excited. We're talking about the upcoming year. We're planning the intensive. We're getting everything together. So we're super excited to kick things off. We're excited to welcome back the students who were with us last year. And we're also really excited to welcome a whole new group of students. And so this is the fun part of my job is this kind of stuff. Well, not this video. I mean, it's okay, but it's the beginnings are fun, and we try and make them memorable and notable. So just know that, okay? Again, let me know if you have any questions. And it's Friday, so I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.